One of the biggest complaints that my clients have is that their spouse is a workaholic. And they tell me that they have tried everything possible. They tell me that, then I ask them, how come? How did you fall in love with this person? And they say that when I met this person, I saw him as somebody who is absolutely dedicated, hardworking, somebody who had started at a very low level and has covered such a great heights, and I fell flat for him. But now he is totally different. Now he comes home, uh, he goes to work very early in the morning and he comes home late. And when I ask him, you're not there for us, he says, who am I doing all this for? So I thought that from all their experiences, I thought, let me make a video for people like you who could be having a workaholic spouse, somebody who is obsessed with work, and hope that this video will help you to first of all find happiness with this person. And when you find happiness with this person, you'll be able to transform him by not trying to change him. So here are those 5 tips which will help you to live happy with your workaholic spouse. The first step is really contradictory to all that you have been doing. The first step is stop correcting him. What generally happens is that within the first 3 months of the marriage, the spouse realizes that their husband or wife is a workaholic. And then on, they make the mission of their life is to change this person. So when they try this and when things don't work out, they get all upset and they try even more. It's like you're going in an opposite direction, and when you realize that you're not reaching, you try to go faster. And you might wonder, like, why wouldn't this work? Why wouldn't he understand a simple fact that you need him? He won't. You know why? Because when you start correcting him, his mind goes numb. He's not able to think logically. So when he can't think logically, what he will do is either be defensive and tell you, don't act like my mother, or he'll go quiet. Either ways, you'll not get anything out of it. So the first step is stop correcting him, telling him that he needs to change, telling him that you need time. Just stop. Tip number 2 is to understand your spouse from within. When you look at your spouse and try to understand him, you realize that the biggest value for your spouse is success. Probably when he was very small, one day he came home with some small prize. Might have won some competition. So when he came home, his parents celebrated it as if he has just won a huge competition. And that's where probably he guessed that if I'm successful, people are going to love me. And if you notice very carefully, is somebody who has worked really hard and he has reached where he is. So what's the advantage of understanding him from within? What happens is when you understand him from within, your anger goes down. Your panicking mind relaxes. And when your panicking mind relaxes, you can control your urge, your need to correct him. And that's where the transformation will come about. Tip number 3 is to make sense of his way of loving. If you notice very carefully, the workaholics love branded clothes. And when it comes to you, they would like to give you the best, because they believe that loving means to give the best. So when your spouse takes you to a restaurant, he'll not take you to any restaurant. He'll take you to a best restaurant. When he buys you something, it could be some sort of jewelry, it could be some electronic gadget, he'll buy you the best. And it is very important for you, though you don't want those things, you want his company, you want him to be with you, but in spite of that, for the time being, accept his way of loving you. And when you accept his way of loving, he feels accepted. And that's exactly what he wants. When he feels accepted, his brain will calm down. And when his brain calms down, you'll be able to tell him, first of all, acknowledge him for all the love he is giving you. And along with that, you'll be able to tell him what exactly you want. And that will change, that will make a lot of difference in your relationship. Tip number 4 is to keep a tab on the times he becomes a bigger workaholic. If you notice that for a person who is a workaholic, work and success are two big major things in his life. So whenever he fails, what happens is work is the place he finds solace in, and that's where he runs to. So when he fails, he feels that he is not lovable, and in order to run away from this feeling, all of us have our own way of handling things, handling struggles, frustrations, and for him, the best way to handle frustration is to run to his workplace. And if you're not aware of this, if you're not aware of this trigger, what you will do is start criticizing him, because you're seeing him just the opposite of what you want to see in him. So you start criticizing him. And when I say criticizing, I'm not saying that you're doing it intentionally. Criticism is corrections. So you are starting to correct him, and when you start correcting him, he feels a bigger failure. He was already feeling like a failure, now he feels a bigger failure. And where does he run to? His work. So if you don't want that to happen, what you need to do is to just hold yourself back from correcting and accept him as he is. Stand by him, tell him that you are there and you love him no matter what, whether he fails or he wins, whether he achieves or he doesn't achieve, you are there with him, and that will make all the difference. And the last one is tip number 5: connect before you convince. There are two prerequisites for somebody to actually listen to us and think about it and make those changes in his or her life, the changes that the other person is asking them to make. The first prerequisite is that the person feels loved. The second one is the person feels safe. So when you do the above things, like not correcting him, understanding his trigger and not adding to it, telling him that you love him no matter what it will do is let him know that you love him, you are with him. And then the second part is to make him feel safe. And how do you make him feel safe? It's the way you tell what you're telling. There are two ways you can say the same thing. You're never there for me, you don't spend time, I'm all alone by myself, and that's one way. And when you tell that, what happens is that the person feels unsafe. Then what is the second way? The second way is to tell him in a way that's so non-threatening. For example, you want to tell the same thing but in a different way, and this is what you're telling him. When I see you not being at home and I'm waiting for you, I feel scared. I struggle. I feel left out. I feel rejected. But I'm not blaming you. See that word? And I'm not asking you to change. See that word? See that phrase? And when you're saying that, the other person doesn't feel that pressure that he has to change. He feels that you accept him, and he feels that you're sharing your challenges. And when we feel loved by somebody, and when the other person making us feel safe and the other person is thinking about us, we start thinking about that person. But the point is, you got to do all these things consistently. So if you want to bring about any change in your relationship and bring about change in your spouse, put these 5 things into practice and see the difference it's going to make. So as we are ending this video, what I would like to know from you, and put it in the comment box, is which of the 5 things that I've shared you're going to put into practice. Until we connect again, keep your love story alive. May love live forever. Thank you. Thank you.